Over the past month, one of the biggest sexual assault scandals in the political world has been upending the organization Young Americans for Liberty, and there are potentially more allegations to come in other organizations involved too, like Turning Point USA. Before we go any further, I want to make it very clear that everything in this video is alleged. I'm simply reporting on sexual allegations that have been seen publicly on Twitter and the news and giving my take on it. Again, these are all just allegations. This whole thing started on January 8th when Addison Rae Gardner posted on Twitter a thread detailing stories of rape, sexual assault, and harassment from girls, including herself, in the organization Young Americans for Liberty. To give a little background for those who don't know what Young Americans for Liberty, or YAL, is, they're basically a nonprofit libertarian-leaning organization on college campuses across the country. If you've heard of Turning Point USA, which we'll talk about at the end of this video, YAL is basically the libertarian version of TPUSA. They're a 501c4, which basically means they avoid federal income taxes, and as an organization, they basically table on college campuses to recruit people to chapter meetings where they discuss current events and activism. The two main forms of activism they have are YALCon and Operation Win at the Door. YALCon is basically the libertarian version of SAS, Turning Points Conference, or CPAC. It's a big convention in a major city with speakers, vendors, and networking. Operation Win at the Door is YAL's nationwide canvassing operation where they go door to door, campaigning for libertarian candidates. And by libertarian, the types of people that are the face of YAL are people like Ron Paul, Rand Paul, Thomas Massie, Joseph Napolitano, and Dave Rubin. YAL has been around since 2008, but the many allegations I'm about to go through mostly happened over the past 5 years. Basically, women are accusing President of YAL Cliff Maloney of threatening them with losing their careers if they don't sleep with him. One of Maloney's common tactics was to pressure women into bringing food up to his hotel room at YAL conventions and then threatening them to have sex with him or else he would end their careers in YAL. There are many allegations of sexual assault by students, staffers, and higher-ups at YAL. The YAL House, which is a place where Maloney and other staff stayed, and Operation Win at the Door canvassing trips. Many of these women would file complaints to HR, and they almost always went nowhere, or offenders would even get promoted. Offenders that did get fired would actually get rehired eventually. Women that spoke out usually got harassed, socially ostracized, and even in some cases fired from other political organizations that they had moved on to after YAL. Sexual assault aside, there are also many stories of simply a toxic work culture all throughout the organization. Like I said earlier, this all started when Addison Rae Gardner tweeted about a number of stories from women in YAL. One woman alleges that Maloney asked her to get him food after a conference, and once alone he, quote, extorted her for sex at the expense of her good standing within the organization. Other women allege that Maloney blacklisted and propositioned women, touched and hugged college girls at YALcons while drunk, and pressured girls to get their chapter numbers up or else they'd get fired. One person even allegedly saw Maloney assault a YAL member and had to pull him away. Maloney then laughed and walked away to find other victims. Men have even come forward alleging countless incidents when Maloney was alone with them and he would ask them, "Which women are you going after?" Additionally, Gardner posted numerous allegations against Vice President of YAL, Justin Grease. Grease has been seen by multiple witnesses trying to take a blackout drunk girl to his hotel room at a YALcon and was only stopped when attendees physically intervened. Another girl says the same thing happened to her with Grease, and he also pulled her dress down a hotel bar to see if she was wearing a bra. He grabbed her by the wrist, forced her to grab his penis, and then tried to drag her across the bar to get her to come up to his hotel room. And Grease even had a girlfriend at the time. Other women allege that Grease's behavior during the 2016 election night was by legal definition of sexual battery, and that he bragged at the YAL HQ about having a sex tape he made with a state rep. The allegations don't stop with the higher-ups. Gardner alleges a campaign coordinator sexually harassed girls on door-knocking deployments, where these offenders only got changed to different roles. Development staff openly talked about state chairs that they would have sex with. Interns who complained about this were ridiculed. And a friend of YAL would attend events and was known to grope and harass women. Even Gardner herself alleges a state chair groped her. He was later endorsed for state office, and YAL even sent students to door knock for him. When Gardner messaged Maloney about the situation, he blocked her, and when her husband tweeted at the organization about it, they blocked him as well. When Gardner complained to a YAL staffer in an office about her incident, a regional director shouted about women being fucking sluts and then shouted at her that she wasn't a libertarian and didn't believe in free speech for saying his behavior made her uncomfortable. YAL HR did nothing about anything, and YAL even sent her gropus to table with her for an event after knowing what he did to her. Since speaking out, Garner has received DMs with stories of sexual assault, physically abusive interns, a guy luring a girl into his room under false pretenses, and a girl running away from a guy taking no for an answer, and then she got socially and professionally ostracized from YAL higher-ups afterwards. There's also a door knocker that followed a girl to her car and tried to sexually assault her. He actually kept his job after internal investigations. And many victims say that their sexual assailants and harassers still work at YAL. One woman in particular actually lived in Iowa with Maloney and the other YAL guys at the YAL house. Maloney hit on her during the first day at lunch, reprimanded her for not smiling enough during a Rand Paul for President phone bank, and even made her stand certain places during a meeting in the office. It got so bad, when she found out that staffers could unlock her room, she put a chair with a necklace in front of her room to wake her up if someone tried to get in. Other women have also said that they would see young women frequently go into Maloney's room at the YAL house. Once Garner posted her tweet, the hashtag YALtoo started blowing up as more women started to speak out. Maggie alleged that she was sexually assaulted by a YAL co-worker who was eventually terminated after a third-party investigation, and she has since been socially ostracized and harassed by YAL members and staff since. Lexi alleges that her Operation Win at the Door boss sexually harassed her, and when after complaining, her higher-ups bought her co-workers steaks and told them not to talk to her ever again. Her abuser was fired, but later rehired, which you'll start to notice is a common pattern with YAL. One intern, Kelly, alleges that a YAL staffer tried to get women blackout drunk at a party and in at least one instance succeeded. She had to nurse another intern suffering from alcohol poisoning herself. She even alleges that YAL defended a dozen state chairs who brought white nationalist Richard Spencer to a partner organization's conference. After she organized a mass email campaign to get YAL to condemn Spencer and the state chairs, Maloney had her fired at the partner organization. Taylor has similar experience as other women with Maloney at YALCon, where he even went as far to make sexually demeaning remarks at her as she tearfully refused to sleep with him. The next day, Maloney even introduced his fiancée to her. She told her RFD and Vice President of YAL, Justin Grease, and a board member of YAL, Jeff Frazee, about it, and nothing was done. Frazee just said, "Thanks," in an email. Jesse alleges that Maloney aggressively asked her multiple times to go with him to his office alone at a party. She told someone about it, who complained to Jeff Frazee, and he put Jesse in contact with a lawyer, but once again, nothing was done. Sid alleges that a YAL staffer tried to get an underage girl at the time and a friend at a conference drunk. He then harassed and stalked her for the rest of the conference, and other women have claimed that they saw drinks spiking at various YAL events. Zuri alleges she was pressured into giving nudes to a Students for Rand staffer for a job. She ended up sending the nudes, and this staffer shared them in the YAL office. The person who told Zuri this was happening got fired, and when Zuri complained to Cliff Maloney about it, nothing happened, except the staffer who shared her nudes got promoted and still works at YAL HQ. Lexi alleges a YAL direct supervisor tried to have an unwanted sexual relationship with her co-worker who became outcasted in YAL once she spoke up to the higher-ups about it. This all happened under Justin Grease's watch, and the direct supervisor would also enter girls' rooms unannounced and drunk. He was later assigned as Lexi's boss in a YAL spin-off organization called Mobilize the Message, despite after complaints about his behavior to the higher-ups. One anonymous user even alleges that she got drunk at a YAL event, and a drunk guy started making advances on her, not taking no for an answer, and eventually started to touch her all over. He also drunkenly said that he wanted to make her president and serve in her cabinet. She helped him locate his room and ended up going inside with him. But when she wouldn't satisfy him, he left, leaving her alone with his two roommates. Then when she eventually completely blacked out, she briefly woke up to someone in her mouth and another place. Later, when she fully woke up, she was naked, and one roommate was apologizing about what he did to her. There are also many allegations of other unprofessional, unethical, and potentially illegal behavior in YAL. Grace alleges, as a state chair of a 501c3, she was required to do work for a 501c4. She also worked under a YAL RFD that told staffers like herself that they fucking sucked for not getting enough Operation Win at the Door applications. He even gave people who were acting dumb what he called his autismos autism awareness ribbons, which he proudly showcased in his office. This RFD, who was actually autistic himself, told state chairs during a training summit that you can't go around autistically screeching all your life. He also threatened to fire an autistic state chair, which gave this state chair an anxiety attack, and then he told him that he wanted him to be anxious. Kaylee alleges that YAL lied to donors about how they spend their millions of dollars, has illegal partnerships with YAL, Greece, and Maloney's consulting firms, and employees were being threatened to do illegal activities or else they would be fired. When these allegations started coming out, Maloney denied the allegations and said that character assassinations against a team of liberty advocates who work around the clock for our cause must stop. YAL chapters around the country, though, began to condemn the lack of action from the national organization and demanded an investigation. YAL Nationals then released a statement saying a full independent investigation was underway and that Maloney and Greece were put on administrative leave. Some known collaborators with YAL, like Hunter Avalon, have cut ties with the organization, and Justin Amash has actually supported the women speaking out. Eventually, the YAL board terminated Maloney, but they were yet to terminate Greece. Some chapters started to demand that YAL take further action with Greece or they would break away from the national organization. About a month after Addison Rae Gardner made her first allegations, Jeff Frazee announced in an email that Justin Grease would no longer be working with YAL. One student has even taken action into her own hands and is suing YAL for sexual harassment, wrongful termination, and retaliation from President Cliff Maloney himself. Now, I understand that many people will question the legitimacy of these sexual assault allegations, especially in the political world where, let's be honest, there are lots of sociopathic clout chasers and grifters. But for starters, these women didn't wait 30 years to speak out against someone until their assailant was being coincidentally nominated to the Supreme Court. And most of these women seem to have gone through the proper HR channels at YAL, and it didn't go anywhere for years, so they went public with it. But as someone who's actually had some experience with YAL, I personally was not surprised at all to hear about these allegations once they surfaced. Recently, I was a student at Penn State University for 4 years where I was a Turning Point USA chapter president. We actually had a YAL chapter that got restarted during the last year I was on campus, and I attended a few of their meetings with my friends. Through the people I talked to at my campus and others across the country, I can tell you that they have a major gender ratio problem at YAL. Their conventions are just one big sausage fest with 90% men and very few women. And they're 99% white men. And I'm not trying to sound like an SJW or anything, but if you're an organization and it's almost all white men, there's a problem here. While I did not hear any sexual assault or harassment stories myself, I have heard from friends that YAL has a creepertarian problem. Yes, as comical as that term sounds, it is a real thing. The guys in YAL tend to be very nerdy, socially awkward kind of types that do not really understand how to properly interact with women. And most of the ones I've talked to have given me bad vibes, frankly. But I've heard stories of creepertarians following women around at conventions and awkwardly touching and interacting with them in ways that just scare women away. Many women that enter YAL end up leaving because of an interaction with a creepertarian, or others simply just treating them terribly. Honestly, I get the vibe that a lot of weirdos and creeps get into YAL, and those are the types of people that tend to stay. And this is not to mention all the emotionally abusive and simply unethical stories I've heard from YAL. I've heard everything from YAL pressuring someone to drop out of college in order to stay with them, pressuring a student in a wheelchair to fly out of state from Florida all the way to Idaho to knock doors for them, and doing nothing about cruel board members, and even pressuring a girl that got into a car crash during an out-of-state door knock to keep knocking doors for them if she really wanted liberty to win. Look, I'm not saying all this to mock YALers or anything, but for the sake of context for people not involved with YAL, they need to understand the types of people that go into YAL. Say what you will about Turning Point USA, but they have a way better gender ratio than YAL. Like anything political, it's going to be mostly guys, but there's still a good number of women at their chapters and their conventions. And I'm not trying to prop up Turning Point USA or anything. I've actually come to loathe the national organization, but TPUSA students on the ground give you a good overall representation of what a political organization should look like. With that said, I would not be surprised if a hashtag TPUSA2 scandal starts up real soon or at some point. Some are even hinting that this will be next. TPUSA, they have massive conventions all across the country, specifically their Student Action Summit in West Palm Beach, Florida, which are known to be major drinking and hookup scenes. Bring a few thousand male college students to Florida with with no adult supervision, lots of alcohol, lots of drugs, hot college girls, and unfortunately you're bound to have a few bad apples take advantage of the situation, do something bad. At the time of posting this video, I've been researching and working on #YALtoo for over a month, and as I edit this video, the first allegation against Turning Point has been posted on Twitter. I don't think TPUSA2 will be as bad as YALtoo, but I have a feeling that it could blow up with more allegations of sexual assault and harassment, and allegations of Turning Point doing nothing about it. And that's the bigger picture here. YAL is a dying organization, but Turning Point and college Republicans are massive organizations with lots of influence and connections. Say what you will about Charlie Kirk, but his organization was able to get, at the time, President Trump to speak at his events. Massive sexual assault scandals will not only take out some major influencers in these organizations, but they could kill the reputation of these organizations. Bad management creates these toxic cultures that can destroy an organization overnight. The downfall of a major right-wing organization can change the landscape of the right-wing movement for better or worse. The right specifically has lost to the left in terms of attracting women and minorities to their movement, and there are many reasons for this as to why, but when major right-wing organizations do nothing about sexual assault or other things, you're going to scare women and minorities away. It happened with YAL, and it could easily happen at Turning Point as well. Things like this are going to happen almost anywhere, unfortunately, but if you do nothing to punish it and prevent it, it's going to happen again and again and again. And the left loves to say that college campuses are massive hubs of so-called rape culture, but let me tell you, college campuses are a million times safer than a YALcon. Most college campuses are actually one of the safest places you can be. Penn State, for all of its partying, is still a very safe campus. Yes, the top administration has covered up some sexual assault scandals in the past, like Sandusky, but at least the overwhelming majority of staff and students actually care or are trying to do something about sexual assault. I've known frat boys that have reported sexual assault and have actively taken measures to prevent it. Believe me, sexual assault is something that's not tolerated by students and staff at all. YAL, on the other hand, is what actual rape culture looks like. Not only does sexual assault happen frequently, but people from the very top to the very bottom do it, cover up for it, tolerate it, and even terminate and threaten people who speak up about it. Look at their YAL house. It's just as bad as one of those so-called rapey frats on campus. Not the normal frat houses, but the ones that everyone tells you to stay away from. And it has multiple grown adults living in there with young girls. If the YALtoo allegations are true, I hope that those who assault these women are punished. I hope the women abused get the justice and help that they deserve. This is an absolutely disgusting scandal that has honestly been uncomfortable to research. I can handle a lot, and I know the political world is really dirty, but behavior like this is simply unacceptable anywhere, and more light needs to be shined on it to prevent it from happening again. People need to know about these incidents before getting involved with any of these organizations so that we are not only aware, but so that we also don't support these disgusting people and unintentionally fuel the awful toxic culture they've created. So please share this video with anyone you know involved with politics, and please subscribe to the channel so that you can see our TPUSA2 video potentially coming out in the future.